Go get that crown, now give me that. Lay off those pounds, shake off that beat. Go get that crown.
Hi everyone, Hussein here. Welcome to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you cool effects using materials in Unreal Engine 5. So this is the effects that we are going to be creating today. I'm using a simple material for this. We will have to do a couple of things before we start. Number one is, of course, we need to get our skeletal mesh. In this case, I got a skeletal mesh from Mixamo, and we'll bring that in. Of course, you can use this on any static meshes or any skeletal mesh at all. So let's begin by creating the project and setting up the stage for it.
Let's go.
Alright, so here we are at the Unreal Engine project browser. I'll be using Unreal Engine 5.6.1 for this because I tried this in using Unreal Engine 5.7. I'm getting some glitches, so I'm not going to use 5.7 for now, perhaps because it has the substrate enabled by default. I couldn't get around it, so we'll stick to 5.6 for now, right? Okay, so I'm going to select film, video, and live events, and I'm going to select motion design simply because I want to use some assets which is inside the motion design template. So I'll give it a name. Let's give it Dissolve FX. Okay, and then we'll just create the project. And we're not going to use motion design, by the way, so I'm just going to close all this stuff for now. This is not, except for the content browser. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to switch it back to default viewport. Okay, so we don't need the clone system, which is this thing over here. I'm going to just delete that off. I'm going to select the props wise. I'm going to delete these rings and the center pedestal. I'm going to keep the lights. I'm going to keep the post-process volume, and we shall also keep the camera, the 35mm camera. I'm going to delete the 55 and the 75mm, and that's it, right? This is what we're going to be using. We need to be in the default viewport, right? So this is the stage that we have, and let's now go to Mixamo and download the skeletal mesh.
Let's go.
Alright, so here we are in Mixamo. You will need to have an Adobe account to download the characters and the animation. In this case, I'm going to be using this whiteboard character. So if you can't find it, just go under the character section up here and just type in whiteboard, B-O-T. Alright, you get that character over there. So I'm going to click on animation, and I'm going to type in hip hop dance, yeah. And this is the one, right? So if you can use any other animation that you want, right? I'm just going to stick to this one for now. And on the right hand side, click on download here, and FPX is fine, 30 frames per second is fine, with skin, no keyframes. Okay, click on download. Okay, so I'm going to put it in my Dissolve FX tutorial folder, hip hop dance FBX, save that. Okay, in the next section, we will jump back into Unreal Engine and start importing the hip hop dancer.
Let's go.
Okay, here we are back in Unreal Engine. Let's start by creating a new folder here. So this is where we're going to import our skeletal mesh. I'm just going to say Mixamo, and then let's bring that in. So on my desktop, I'm just going to drag and drop into folder here. For the import content, I usually click on use pipeline default, just in case I've changed it before. Only thing I like to enable here is under the skeletal meshes, I just like to enable use T0 as reference pose, right? And then click on import. So you should have these assets in your folder right now. You have the materials that comes with it. We've got a dancing hip hop skeletal mesh, animation sequence, physics asset, and the skeleton. Okay, let's click on save all. I'm going to just click the hip hop skeletal mesh and drag it into our scene. In the details panel, I'm just going to reset it to 000. Press the F key to zoom in, and then I'm just going to rotate him around, and it's going to be about 90 degrees. We can now drag the hip hop dancer into our dancing skeletal mesh into the sequencer. The way I like to do it is by selecting the skeletal mesh and pressing Ctrl A on your keyboard, and now it's there. And it comes with an animation. So let's click on the plus sign, and the animation comes with it. There you go, right? Double click on the purple line to see the full animation. I'm going to drag this red line right to the end of it, and now we can click on play. So you can see the dancer is doing its stuff. Alright, so in the next section, we're going to start creating the material to put onto the skeletal mesh.
Let's go.
In this section, we are going to create the materials that we're going to put onto our skeletal mesh. So let's go create a new folder again, the materials. Let's create a new material by doing a right click and go into the material, M_dissolve FX. And I'm also going to create a material instance for this because we're going to be using material instance onto the skeletal mesh. And there'll be some parameters that we need to change as well. Create material instance by right clicking on the master material, dissolve FX. All right, so let's open up let's click on save all. And let's open up the master material. Double click on it. And then we will just dock it over here. Select the output node here. We're going to change the blend mode from opaque to masked because we're going to be using the mask opacity here. So now that's enabled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a right click on the base color. I'm going to say promote to parameter. Okay, and then we'll probably give it any color at the moment. Just put green for now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hold down on number 3 on your keyboard and then do a left click. And here you will get a constant tree. Convert the parameter. I'm going to call this the glow color. Press the M key on your keyboard and do a left click. And we're going to hook up the RGB into the A part of the multiply. And we'll do a right click on the pin. I'm going to say promote to parameter. And I'm going to call this glow strength. All right, so we got that part done. We can give a color to the glow color. Let's say we'll try this fuchsia color for now. So I'm going to create another multiply by holding down M on your keyboard, left click. And now I'm going to take the out pin and then put it into the B pin here. And I'm going to drag that into emissive color. Okay, so we're going to put something else here. Press the S key and left click. And I'm going to type in dissolve edge. So we will be able to change the edge of the dissolve as well. And after that, I'm going to just drag it out and type in something called smooth step. So we're going to use the smooth step, which is the math. And then we're going to put that pin into max. I'm going to take that out. Alt click on the min. The output from smooth step is going to go into the multiply for A. So now for the opacity mask, we are going to make some room here. And I'm going to do a texture here. So T and then left click, you get a texture. As for the texture, I'm going to go and grab a texture which is already in Unreal Engine. So I'm going to just click on that and type in T_noise. You can use any texture that you want, but since this is part of Unreal, it's going to be convenient for us to use this. I'm going to do an add, right? Drag out, add. And for this one, I'm going to do a right click on the B pin and I'm going to say promote a parameter. I'm going to call this dissolve. And then I'm going to drag another pin out and type in saturate, create a subtract node. I'm going to drag out the out pin from the saturate node into the A pin of the subtract. For the B, I'm going to create another parameter. And this one is going to be called dissolve intensity. And we're going to take the out pin again from the saturate into opacity mask. And you can start seeing the dissolve effects here that's happening on the sphere here. We will have to reverse this because the dials will go the other way around. So we're going to do a 1-. So press 0, left click on your keyboard, you get a 1-. So we're going to plug that into that and plug that into that, right? It's going to reverse the whole thing. As for the output for the subtract, we're going to put it into the value of the smooth step because both of these are going to work hand in hand. I'll show you in a minute what I'm trying to do here. All right. So that's the final version of the material. Let's click on apply and save. I'm going to do a right click here and also make this a parameter because you can just drop any textures into it later. Let's call it texture. So click on apply and save. We are done with the material. Let's go back to the level. We are going to open up the material instance now. And you should now have access to all the parameters here. Okay, we got global scalar parameter, dissolve, dissolve edge, dissolve intensity, glow strength. And then we have the texture which you can change, and then you got a base color and your glow color. All right, everything is available now. Go back to the main level and then we'll just put this over here. All right, so we have our character over here. We are going to scroll down here. This character comes with 2 different material slots. If you notice, his body has 2 different slots. One for the main body and then the one for the joints. All right. So for the first one will be element 0. So I'm going to drag dissolve FX and dump it into the element 0. So now you can see the base color here. So let's keep the base color to maybe just white for now. And then the glow color will be there. So what's going to happen now, if you notice that this already has some holes on him, that's because the texture itself has some black parts onto it. So as you can see, you can actually adjust the amount of dissolve. Will make him totally disappear, right? And then you have the dissolve edge, which you can actually, if you zoom in a bit more, you can see the edge here that's happening. You can adjust how much of glow you want to the edge like that, right? And then we have the dissolve intensity. And then we have the glow strength. What you can do also is to make the glow strength default. You can go into the master material. Under the default here, leave it at 100. And then you can apply and save. So that will come in as default to 100. And of course, you can change the glow color if you want to. Just keep it that nice fuchsia color again. And then we can also play with the base color. So I'm going to keep this as 100. And then we can play with this edge and all that stuff. So in the next section, I'm going to show you how to bring this into a sequencer and animate the Dissolve FX.
Let's go.
Okay, in this section, we are going to add the character into the sequence and then we'll animate the properties, right? Just before we do that, I'd like you to reset all your settings we have played with earlier, right? Except for maybe the glow color. We'll put that aside for now. We already have a sequencer we built earlier. That's the LS Dissolve FX. Let's open that up. So how do we access the parameters that comes with the materials, right? So we have these materials for this character. We have the body and the joints. Okay, let's talk about the body first. Okay, I'm going to put the playhead right at the beginning. We need to click on the plus sign for the hip hop dancing and then go down to skeletal mesh component 0 and we'll have that, and we'll click the track for the skeletal mesh component 0. And then this time around we're going to choose slot alpha body materials. And for this one, when you click on plus sign again, you should have something called the dissolve itself, right? So we have access to base color, dissolve edge, dissolve intensity, glow color, and strength. So all these can be animated. In our case, we're just gonna play with the dissolve for now. Okay, maybe we start it without any effects and bring down to maybe somewhere on the 4 second, and then bring the effects in. Then it goes down to maybe 10 seconds, maybe a bit more, until it disappears. Maybe here we can maintain that this keyframe here. Okay, and then it disappears and it comes back at the end. I'm just going to copy and paste the last keyframe on the last frame. Sorry, the first keyframe on the last frame. Okay, so that's what's happening with him. Let's do a pull out. Okay, and disappears. And then let's go back to the post-process volume. We can change the glow amount. Right, so let's check whether there's any lens flare set up in this scene. There's none, so that should be in the project settings. Sometimes by default, Unreal Engine has lens flare enabled, so there you go. Right, just disable that, and then the other one will be bloom. Sometimes that's also enabled by default, so this one is enabled. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so it's coming on like that. And then we can also tackle the joints as well if you want to, right? So in this case, we're going to go back to the content browser. We're going to duplicate this material, Control D. I'm going to call this Dissolve FX2. Okay, I'm going to open that up. And we have it over here. For this one, I'm going to drag it onto the joints here. So I can just click and drag onto the joints. Okay, and I'm going to change the color. In this case, let's go for the blue. Okay, and let's reset this back to normal. Press OK. Let's go back there. It's too much, right? So I guess that's the bloom intensity is too much. Let's go back to the sequencer. And now we can actually click on the skeletal mesh component. Go for the slot alpha joints for material, which is the material number 2, right? And then we can say I need to change the dissolve. In this case, I'm going to bring it down. Okay, so you can see that the body will have the glow first, And then when we can see inside of the body, we will bring up the glow for the joints a bit, right? And then we can bring it down like that. There you go. And then at the end, can go back down to nothing. We might as well also play with the base color. In this case, the base color is too white for me. Let's keep it that dark, not too dark. Okay, and the body for this guy will be, let's keep it the cyan color. And then if you play now, you can see that the color is coming in, and then the joints are going to change as well. Okay, then you can bring it back. All right, play with these numbers until you get your desired results. And not only that, you can also put this onto static meshes. It doesn't have to be skeletal meshes because it's just a material on the object.
Let's go.
One more thing that you can do with this material is by enabling two more parameters. Let's jump back into the material and I'll open up the master material again. And we can enable the metallic here. I do a right click and say promote to parameter. And then we can also enable the roughness. And we'll leave them both at its default value. I'm going to click on apply and save. And then we'll jump back here. Let's open up the material instance. And now we have these two available here, metallic and roughness. So in my case, I probably want to give this little dancer here a bit more metallic look, a chromey look, right? So I can make metallic to 1. And then we'll bring the chrome a bit up. It's too shiny at the moment. Maybe a 0.2, 0.3. Yep, there you go, right? A bit more shinier. And of course, you can change the color back to white to make it have that chrome look. It's gonna look, let me try 0.2 here. Or maybe we'll go chrome 100%, so 0. So you have a nice little shiny robot and all animated. There you go, right? The reflection that you can see in the robot itself is actually come from the skylight. Okay, if you click on skylight, if you notice that there's actually the epic quad panorama cube map being applied to it. So you can change this to whatever you want. In this case, we can probably change to daylight or something like that, right? Okay, so it's up to you. So you can play with that. So now we have this nice robot, the nice cool effect. And last but not least, I'm just going to throw in a camera so we can do some maybe a quick animation. I'm going to select the cam 35mm to drag it into the scene. It's too far away at the moment, so I'm going to just maybe bring it a bit closer to the action. Probably bring it down a bit, and I'll drop a keyframe here. I'm going to make the camera do 180 degrees around the dancer. A good way to do that is not moving the camera, but before that, let me do something else. So select the camera, and I'm going to make sure that it's always focusing on the robot itself, or the dancer itself, right? So select camera and go to the focus settings and select using the eyedropper. So it's always in focus. Then I'm going to bring in a actor, or in this case, a null object. I'm going to go to plus sign, go to basic actor. Just leave the name as actor. I'm going to take the camera, make it the child of the actor 2. And I'm going to drag the actor 2 into the scene. Make sure it's at 0, 0, 0. There you go, right? So now if I rotate the actor, the camera should rotate as well. There we go, right? So I'm going to drop a keyframe. You don't see the transform options here, so you click on plus sign, go to transform, and then we'll open up transform. We'll just do rotation on the yaw. So let's start from here. Drop a keyframe on the yaw, and this is say 14 seconds, so maybe we go halfway, 7 seconds or something like that. We will probably go the other way around, not to see the background on the back there. And I'll just copy the first keyframe and drop it onto the last frame. So we will have a loop of this thing going around. Click on play. Okay, maybe we can give it a bit more bloom, perhaps. Maybe try 1. See what happens. And let's click on loop. There we go. This looks nice. Maybe we can go a bit closer. So I'm gonna go to the cam. Instead of going current focal length 80, let's bring it a bit closer. And then we'll move the cam upwards a bit in location wise on that Z. There you go. Right. Cool. So that's the final version. Of course, you can play around with this a bit more, change the colors, change the glow and everything. Obviously, you can also put this on a static mesh, as I mentioned earlier.
Let's go.
So that's it from me. If you've learned anything new, perhaps you can show your appreciation by hitting the like button. And if you want to see more of these Unreal Engine tutorials, please subscribe to the channel. Hope to see you again soon, and bye-bye for now.